Well, here we are in beautiful Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, and I thought this would be a wonderful chance to talk to you about one of the top issues that students have with their essays, which is that there's a tendency to use something called passive voice. Now, passive voice means a tendency to use verbs that are a little bit lazy. And in fact, one of the things that's really cool about the culture here, if we look around at these lovely little shops and where we are, they do something here called a siesta. And a siesta is a nap. And in the middle of the day, sometimes people will just sort of take a break and they'll take a little siesta. But what we don't want is for your essays to be taking a siesta. In fact, it's very important that your verbs be as active as possible. So what does passive voice mean? Passive voice is the use or overuse of the verb to be. Now here in Mexico they have two words, and in the Spanish language we have both ser and estar, and both of these verbs mean to be. Ser means something that is true all of the time, it is being all of the time. So if I conjugate the verb ser, I could say yo soy una mujer, I am a woman, and I am always a woman, therefore that's true. Now there's also the verb estar, which means something that's temporary and also has to do with place. So estoy in Mexico, so I am here now, right? I am, to be. Ser and estar are two verbs, to be. Well, there's a difference in English. We only have one verb, which is to be. Well, what is the problem? The problem is that students have a tendency to underutilize their other verbs, and in fact, as writers, your verbs should be the most active part of your sentence. They should be pumped up like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We want to pump those verbs up. Unfortunately, a lot of students have developed a habit over the course of their schooling by the time they get to 10th and 11th grade, where they really are very dependent on adjectives, and they're overutilizing adjectives and they're underutilizing their verbs. Well, the verb should be the most interesting and strong and wonderful part of their sentence, and when that's not the case, unfortunately you're going to lose points both with your teachers and your English classes, and also as your essays are being graded on any standardized tests. So what we want you to do is notice the following words, and I recommend that you actually write these down and look at your most recent writing samples and see, are you guilty of overutilizing the siesta voice, the passive voice in your writing? So we're looking for forms of to be, and those are is, am, are, was, were, be, being, and been. So whether we're doing it in present tense, in past tense, in the gerund form, in the participle form, to be really just tells your reader that something exists, but it doesn't give any more information. It's not a vivid choice just to use is, am, are, was, were. So looking for more active verbs and interesting verbs, elevated verbs, verbs that show off your ability to do wonderful things with your diction as well as your syntax is going to make a big difference in the way you're perceived. We want your voice to be as strong as possible. So avoid taking a siesta when it's time to do your writing. Keep those verbs pumped up like Arnold, right? And don't let yourself run around on spindly little legs of tiny little passive verbs with big giant adjectives on top, right? We want, just like a bodybuilder needs to have a balanced body, you want your sentences to be balanced, right? So please make sure that you can use beautiful elevated adjectives and nouns and adverbs, of course, but the most important piece is always that verb, because that's what's happening. The verb is what's happening. So we want to make sure that those are as strong as possible, and that you are wide awake when you're writing those important essays. Buena suerte! Good luck from Mexico.